How's it going, guys? We're here in the great outdoors of Utah, and today I'm with special guest Chase from Outdoor Empire.
Thanks for having me. I'm Chase, and I'm here with Blade HQ to talk about 10 ways to use a knife while camping. It's going to be exciting, so stick around.
Let's do it. All right, Chase, so your channel is Outdoor Empire, so why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you do over there?
You bet. Outdoor Empire is a place where we do all kinds of gear reviews, mostly camping and hiking, a little bit of hunting and fishing. We've got a website and we've got a YouTube channel as well.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna talk through some situations here that we'd use our knives outdoors, specifically camping. So our first one, let's jump into, which will be fire starting. All right, guys, so the first 4 steps of prepping your campsite has to do with prepping a fire. So we're gonna go into the first one. What does that look like?
So when you build a fire, you need 3 main parts. You need tinder, you need kindling, and you need fuel. Fuel are the big pieces, tinder's the little stuff, and kindling's in the middle.
Right.
So we're gonna prepare a little bit of each.
Sweet, and so for feather sticking, I have the Gerber Strong Arm Camp. Okay. It's nice and lightweight, little fixed blade. It's gonna get the job done, so.
Thank you. So feather sticking is one way to make tinder. If you have dry firewood and it's really dry, feather sticking can actually be kind of hard. So something feathering from the middle is best. This is the first way to do it. Hold that stick pressed against something. You're cutting away from yourself and others. So in fact, I'm gonna go over here just so I'm not cutting towards you. And then you're gonna put your blade at an angle and you're gonna do nice thin shavings. If you got a nice sharp knife, it helps. And you can do thin shavings and see how it curls. That's the feathering.
Awesome. And so yeah, along with the knife side of things, there are a bunch of different knives you can use for these situations. This one is just a great little lightweight camp knife to attach to your pack or your belt or anything like that.
Super nice, feels good in the hand.
Yeah,
I'd use that for sure.
It has a nice comfortable grip, so it
Any
helps
kind of camp knife, bushcraft knife, even a lot of pocket knives you could do this with.
Absolutely.
Let me show you one other way. It's actually quite a satisfying way to do feather sticks. You can actually just jab a knife in a stump. Okay, and then instead of moving the knife, you can actually just work the piece of wood. And this actually makes it a little easier to control and get really thin feathering.
That is nice.
It also feels safer to me. You know, you're not risking slipping with that knife and cutting anybody or anything. All right, now that we have some tinder ready, we are gonna get the rest of the firewood ready. And so one thing we might have to do is saw down a dead tree or deadfall stuff that we find. Yeah. Here we are in a campground. We are not going to be cutting down any of these very lovely trees around us. So I brought part of a tree to cut.
Amazing.
I should also mention, not only is this useful for firewood, but maybe you want to like build a bushcraft shelter or even make little posts to help set up a rain fly or a sun shelter. There's a lot of uses, a lot of reasons you might need to saw stuff, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So what do we got?
So I brought for you a silky gomboy.
That's awesome.
Saw. I'm sure you know what this is.
I've been wanting one for a while, and that looks awesome, so I'm excited to use it.
Yeah, sweet. It's super lightweight, obviously a very portable saw. It has a nice, massive rubber handle and a sweet lock back. Awesome. So it's not gonna budge on you.
No, that's awesome. This kind of knife is perfect. I like this. I like the folding compact ones just because they're more convenient. Throw in a camp box. Right. Even if you're driving a Subaru and you don't got a truck with a lot of space.
There you go.
So anytime you're cutting, just ask any neighbors to give you a wide berth.
I will step away.
If you can't swing that whole blade around you, you probably ought to ask people to move. So I'm just going to do a very simple cut here. A couple things to keep in mind: use the whole blade from end to end. And then don't bend back and forth this way as you're going. You might risk messing up your saw. And then if it's really catching or you feel like you're fighting it, then you're doing something wrong. You're probably trying to press down too much. Just let the saw do the work. Get it started. This is one of my favorite things. It's very satisfying.
It's very pleasing. I was gonna say, I could just listen to that noise.
There we go. Okay. We saw wood with saws sometimes. Imagine that.
All right, Chase. So that was excellent. Very easy. Are these mainly used for like the base of the fire, something to throw on top, or why would we technically be sawing the wood?
Sure, I mean, this could be the fuel part of your fire if you want, or if this is a bigger round, imagine this is something nice and hardy. Yeah. Maybe we're gonna split it next, which that is the next part, because sometimes round wood like this, especially if it's got any pitch in it, if it's green at all, it's not going to be easy to burn.
Right.
Or get lit. So dry wood is good, and when you don't have dry wood, split it.
Cool. So should we split wood?
Let's split some wood.
All right, Chase. So the next step is either batoning or splitting wood.
Yes.
And you told me you'd probably prefer an axe over a knife.
Yep.
So we brought this massive Gerber bushcraft axe for you.
That's a very cool axe.
Yeah.
I like
Super
that.
heavy duty. I'd assume it will get through any piece of wood.
I think that'll do the job. And I like an axe, or sometimes even a hatchet is all I take if I'm trying to go light. I'm not going to pack this on a backpacking trip or anything, but you can certainly baton if you don't mind sometimes getting judged on the internet, but that's a lot of fun too. So.
Yeah, no, batoning's a good time. For an example, I brought the SC4. It's a great one for batoning. It's a good mid-size, hard-use fixed blade. I've used an SC3 to baton wood. Obviously, you're not going to get through anything super massive if that knife blade does not fit through to the other side. So yeah, just be wary of that. But yeah, lots of routes to go when splitting wood.
Should I split this wood?
Yes, I will give you plenty of space to do that.
Yep, same thing.
And then
I like to make sure I'm clear.
Through how this works.
And make sure I don't hit the behind me, but.
Easy.
Oh, that was like made for TV.
That was beautiful.
Make sure I don't trip. Very nice axe.
Flawless, yeah.
I like that. That makes
You're
it
gonna have
easy.
to get yourself one of those.
I think so.
All right, so we're actually gonna start this fire now.
Yes.
So what's the next step with that?
Well, this is a step you might not think of using a knife for, is to actually start a fire, because, you know, there are things called lighters that we could use, but it's a little more fun to start it with maybe a knife and a ferro rod.
Makes
So
it a
that's what we're gonna
chore.
do. Yes.
So yeah, I have a few options. So to start off, this is called the Tops Bob. Super heavy duty full tang fixed blade. It's massive, has a nice Scandi grind. So I'm just pointing this one out. So this is a coated blade. You don't want to be scraping a ferro rod with a coated blade. It's going to ruin the knife, and it's not going to just work as well. And so what you could do with this one is actually down here at the end of the tang.
Oh yeah.
There's a little
Shaved out.
groove.
It's ready for you.
Which, yeah, you would be using to strike the ferro rod.
Yep.
So you could do that. I'd probably recommend having an actual knife with a sharp enough spine that isn't coated. So this is the Castrum Woodsman.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so nice, super sharp spine, gonna be able to strike the ferro rod nice and easy. And so this is the Fire Rod XL from Exotac.
That'll last a while.
It's George's, so he's beating it up a bit.
Thank you,
Man's
George.
made a few fires.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I'll give you this one, and then you can talk us through it.
Yeah, it works best when you have a knife with like a bushcraft camp style knife with a nice 90-degree angle on your spine. That's going to make it easy. And of course, you can always just push the knife against the ferro rod to get sparks. But another way that might make you feel, if you're nervous about it too, like losing your handle on the knife or something, you can pull the actual ferro rod back towards you, and that can be a little bit easier to control. So we're going to try that down here. This is a little easier sometimes if you start elsewhere and then bring the fire to your spot. That way you don't destruct your whole structure we've got here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on a rock. Yep. Look at that. That time it worked first try with that fire starter.
There you go.
Get this in here. And now the game begins. Pile all that feathering on there.
Gotta baby it.
You want to have little stuff ready next to it so you can keep piling it on. Oh, that sound I love. I love campfires.
Been waiting for this for the last hour.
This is a platform fire, by the way. We put the fuel on bottom because we're building it on snow. And then we put smaller and smaller stuff on as we went up. Usually you put the tinder underneath and then the kindling on that and the big stuff outside. But if it works right, and it often does, this will get real hot and lots of airflow, and then it sucks the fire down. Cool. And so you can get it going on wet stuff, even right on top of snow.
Awesome. So Chase, we just built a beautiful fire.
We did.
We're finally warm. So the next step is kind of working on the rest of the campsite.
Yeah, got to set up camp. I like to have a rain fly or a sunshade if it's just sunny in the summertime.
Okay.
Set up so you can like sit under it, cook under it. If it's bad weather, just chill out.
Right.
So it's also a nice place to have the kids go when weather is bad.
There you go.
Honestly, when we talked about doing this video and you said, let's talk about 10 ways to use a knife when camping, I thought, what's the first thing that came to mind was cutting rope.
Yeah.
Very simple task, not fancy, but there's a lot of cutting rope that happens, at least when I go camping.
Exactly.
Or paracord. So it's always good to have some paracord in your camp box.
Yeah, so the beloved knife I have for you is the Benchmade Bailout.
Awesome.
It's got a nice coated blade, aluminum
Feels so
scales.
good, I like that a lot.
You know, it's a very EDC knife, but as we love Benchmade, they're very outdoor-esque. So
absolutely.
You can use it anywhere.
Sharp knives cut rope the best, so I'm sure this one's gonna do just fine. Get ready for it, because it's not gonna last long. The job is done.
Easy.
Very cool knife, I like it.
And with the Tonto blade, if we do have any type of coarser rope, it does help to dig that extra point in to help grind through the fibers of the rope.
Good point.
So.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well,
I like that advice, especially if you got a thicker rope you got to get through.
Exactly.
I like to also then, on something like this, paracord, it's made of like nylon or polyester, some kind of material that melts. So I like to singe the ends. That way it doesn't fray and cause a bunch of guff later. So if you carry a lighter, or you could just stick the end in the fire we just built, but I'm just gonna melt those so I don't make a mess. And then we're ready to finish the rainfly I set up.
All right, show us what's going on.
Okay, so this is just called a ridge line, just a rope tied really taut between two trees. And then on the one end, I got a double half hitch, and on the other end, I got a trucker's hitch, which allowed me to put a lot of tension. Then in the middle, to actually attach the tarp, or fly as this one is to it, I'm gonna make a little prusik knot, and then just tie it to my little loop. So I just need one more to finish pitching this. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm just gonna tie a knot in the one end, and then I'm gonna make a prusik knot, which is pretty easy. Bring over here, and then I'm just gonna do a little simple overhand knot around this to get so it'll cinch up on that knotted end. And the great thing about this is, all right, yeah, so my fly is flapping in the wind right now, but you can just
pull it taut.
Pull that taut in a number of ways.
Nice.
So we got 3 of those on this one, and then we can adjust. Right now I have it just like staked out towards the back with, well, not staked out, we're just using rocks to weigh it down. So I'm gonna move those, and that'll make that really nice and tight.
Sweet.
So you're not dealing with all the nonsense of a poorly pitched rainfly.
There you go. All right, so now we got this set up.
Yes.
Shall we prep some food then?
Yes, we could have a very nice meal under this if we wished.
There you go, let's do it.
All right. So like all humans, we campers also like to eat.
And we love it.
Yes, and sometimes when you eat things, you must cut them first.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I'll also, more seriously or lightheartedly here is, I use knives not only to prepare food that just needs to be cut,
right,
but to open packaging.
Oh.
Also,
use it for
I like to fish sometimes.
True.
And so if I want to eat a trout that I just caught, then you got to clean it.
There you
And
go.
a good knife helps with that.
Yeah, kind of right along that same route of fishing, I've brought the Spyderco Bow River.
Ooh.
So could be used as a fishing knife actually.
That's pretty.
But it is very much a chef's knife for the outdoors, I like to call it.
Cool.
Japanese styled, super, super thin along the spine here. It's gonna be a very slicey blade.
That's cool.
So it should cut through these with ease.
That's awesome. And I like to have a knife if I can. When we car camp, I just have one in our camp kitchen box, and
Absolutely.
it stays in there and lives in there.
Yeah.
This could be a great addition to that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, let's cut some carrots. They're hard. This is what campers who eat carrots might find themselves doing.
We could make a stew here.
Yeah.
But
that slices very nicely.
Yeah, but you can use any knife to cut food, right?
Sure,
a knife's a knife.
You
but
bet.
This one's just a little fancy.
You're gonna enjoy cutting it more, I think, with something like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the hard stuff like a carrot was great. Oh, that goes through that like butter.
Yeah, this thing is very sharp.
Nice.
Love it. Little snack because we're starving.
Lunchtime. Not much else to say about it, folks, but use a knife to cut food when you're camping.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to some kind of more minute tasks
Sure.
that you might come across.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do first?
Well, a reason I always like to have some kind of cutting tool with me when I'm camping or even when I'm backpacking is to repair things that rip or tear.
Yeah.
It might be your tent, it might be a sleeping bag, or in the case I have right now, my favorite puffy vest has a nice little hole in it.
Tragic.
Yes, very tragic, very sad. So I'd like to just do a simple repair.
Okay.
There's materials like gearhead. Gearhead makes all kinds of patches and stuff, and this is called tenacious tape. So I always have a roll of this in my camp box to make simple repairs like this.
Is it waterproof, I'd assume? Or
Yeah, it does a pretty good job. I mean, it sticks really well to synthetic materials.
Okay.
That's, you know, nylon, polyester, clothes, tents, all that kind of gear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that, I'd assume you'll probably need some scissors.
I will. That would
And
be
so we have a few options. We brought two. First is the Leatherman Arc.
Awesome.
So just the all-amazing multi-tool. It does everything. Has a Magna Cut blade, you know, a bigger knife blade compared to other multi-tools, so that's great.
Okay.
But it also has a great pair of scissors.
Sweet.
So we pop these guys open, and these are actually spring-assisted, so
Fantastic.
a little fancy.
I love that. Yeah, and you could certainly do this with a blade just down on a stump or something, but scissors make it easy. So, I mean, there's really nothing to it. You guys can measure, but one tip I would have here is once you kind of get a general piece cut that's going to cover it, cut so smooth, is to round the corners. If you leave square corners, it's probably going to pill up and drive you nuts, if not just fail on you entirely. So
Good tip.
a little oval, a little circle. You can make a little buffalo shape if you like. So there we got our piece of tape. Remove the backing. Lay it flat. Try to do it with no wrinkles.
Nice.
A little bit of a wrinkle, that'll work. That's all there is to it, you know, this kind of, you can do that with duct tape too, of course, but I really like this tenacious tape stuff. Works
Yeah,
really
that
well.
stuff is good. And then I guess kind of along with the same trend here is also first aid kit.
Yeah, exactly.
Using maybe a multi-tool or something along the lines
Yeah.
with that.
So here's my first aid kit. I keep in my camp box. I even take it backpacking. I might trim a few things out of there if I want, but it's got all kinds of things. First aid supplies, as you might imagine. But if someone gets hurt, and luckily no one is hurt today, so this will not be a live demonstration, folks, but I keep lots of things like duct tape in here, and I keep, you know, of course, gauze and bandages, but you need something to cut those with sometimes, so a knife comes in handy for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can use a Leatherman again, or we can use a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Obviously has tons of different blades on there.
That's awesome.
So
Just the regular blade would work. The scissors would work. So I like to keep one of these tiny little Swiss Army knives in my first aid kit at all times. Then I'm never worried about, oh, even if I just leave this in the truck, it's always in there.
just in case.
It's got just a simple little blade. It's even got that little screwdriver if you need it. And then
Nice.
it's got scissors.
Perfect.
And that's what you're gonna need if you have to trim bandages or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's all you need in an emergency.
And tweezers, of course. The tweezers will allow you to get some
Those
stingers
are
out or
actually
splinters out.
Yeah, they come in handy.
Yeah.
That's good.
So perfect little first aid kit item.
Well, awesome. I say we move kind of back to the wood and the fixed blades and everything, and we're gonna notch some wood, right?
Yeah.
And then make some prep for maybe hanging a pot or something like
These are kind of the fun things. This is like camp hobby stuff.
that. Exactly, the
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, let's do that.
So these last couple of suggestions are the fun ones.
Yeah.
A lot of folks just like to whittle by the campfire and do things. And one thing you could do is just make some basic camp tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. And so what I brought for that, and you don't have to, again, use any of these knives for these situations. If you have what you have and you like using it, then do that by all means. But I have the Kershaw ZT4. So it's one of their newer fixed blades.
Thank you.
Nice micarta handle, super comfortable if you do just want to sit there and whittle
Yeah.
and do stuff like that.
Nice and balanced, but good weight to it.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
feels like
So
a fun
you
knife
could do harder
to play
tasks with it
Sure.
as well.
Yeah, cool. Well, there's a couple things you could do. I mean, some people like to just carve like wooden spoons while they're out there for fun, or spatulas, stuff like that. But
Absolutely.
a couple things that are actually useful in camp, I find, are one is just a wiener roasting stick or a mallow roasting
Mallow.
stick.
We love marshmallows.
Get a piece of willow, or this I think I pulled off a cottonwood tree that's still pretty green. Green is best because then you're not going to be burning it as easy, and it makes it really easy to carve, and just, of course, carve away from yourself and others, and just get all that bark off. And you don't even have to carve the whole thing, of course, but just make a little pointy tip. In fact, I'm going to bust that off and then clean it up. Just
Nice
keep it rigid enough and at least big enough for one hot dog. Yeah, just so carve a roasting stick. Another one, you forgot your tent stakes, so carve some out of sticks. Super basic, just make a basic point, and you can get a piece of green wood. It can be any kind of stick you find. And you might not even need to make it into a point, but that helps.
Whatever gets in the ground.
Yeah, so just making basic camp tools, basic
Perfect.
things that you can use around.
Awesome. And then I think next we're gonna kind of notch some wood, right?
Yeah.
Maybe hang a pot on it.
So that's kind of a fun one where you can get real creative.
Yeah.
Especially if you're into campfire cooking.
All right, cool. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay, now we can make more fancy camp tools.
Yeah.
And one thing, one skill to learn that's really nice with a knife is just to be able to put in notches.
Okay, right.
Sounds simple, and it is pretty simple, but
Okay.
there's a technique that's pretty easy to do it.
Sure.
Works best with a camp knife, so we're gonna use the same knife, which is great. It's kind of a bushcraft style knife, and it's got, and we can baton a little bit with it, all right? So
Yeah.
that's what we want. This kind of stuff also works really well when you have like a knife with a Scandinavian grind or something, if you need to do more of that carving stuff. But what we're gonna do, actually before, I need to mention, this is a special stick, okay? When we're doing a pot holder, the idea is that you maybe have a spit that's hanging over the fire. Got like a tripod or bipod of little sticks on either side and a stick running across it horizontal, right?
Yeah.
So having a branch like this with that kind of Y in it is gonna allow you just to like set that on top. So envision that when you pick your stick. Now we're going to do I'm gonna take the knife and some kind of stick to be able to baton just a little bit. Get this placed comfortably. And I want to just baton not all the way through it, but like a third of the way through it, a little less than half. So it's more precision work here. I like what I got going on there. Okay. Then you carve into it, okay? And you're gonna just carve at an angle, just taking off little bits and go a little deeper into it. And just carve down until you meet where you went down on your notch.
Oh, nice.
Not too difficult.
Yeah, pretty easy.
So that's like a basic notch. This is also like where you got basically a 90 degree, or I guess that's not a 90 degree, but straight in, perpendicular to the wood there. That's good for like a tent stake too, if you had it pointing on this end, or a guy line rope. Say you're doing your rain fly and you want to be able to tie a piece of paracord to that and have it hold. That would be great.
Nice.
But for hanging something, you kind of want to get what they call like a bird's beak notch. So we're actually going to carve in just a bit too. Move that stick out of the way. Into that, so that we have a bit of a I don't know what the right word is, like a little hook.
Yeah, like a little notch for it to sit in.
Yep. So your notch kind of goes into the wood a little bit more.
So it won't
Like
fall
so.
off the
I mean,
edge.
that's the idea. And
Yeah,
you can go
absolutely.
deeper. Got a little pot here.
Oh, perfect. We could test your work.
Let's see if it hangs. And that's the idea. Actually, with this pot, since it's got that, I should probably do a little deeper notch. But the idea is you can make your notch like that, and then you can set this on that stick and boil water,
Perfect.
cook up a stew. It's fun. Campfire cooking's a lot of fun.
That is
And you
fun.
can make that robust enough to hold even a big Dutch oven if you want.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
notches, learning to notch in a piece of wood is just a good camp skill to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you a lot of ways to use it.
Yep.
So it's helpful.
It's fun too.
Awesome.
Well, folks, that is 10 ways that you can use a knife while camping. I know I do a lot of these things pretty regularly. There's no one particular way to do it, and that's a lot of the fun of it. A lot of knives you can use, a lot of ways you can use them, and I hope you just get outside, do some camping with your families, and have a good time.
Absolutely. I hope you guys learned something. I know I did. All of the knives we used in today's video will be in the description, and you can find them at bladehq.com. Please also give some love to Chase at Outdoor Empire. His channel will be in the description. And do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Blade HQ for more content like this, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for having me.